who was the best fighter of 2025? What do you think was like, who had the biggest year? Everyone's saying Merab. A lot of the people in the news, media and journals are saying Merab. I'm not totally sold on that. He had a good year, but I can't help but feel like his L to Petr Yan at the end of the year kind of put a little bit of a, like, if he beat Petr Yan, like, especially if he beat him dominantly like he did the first time, I think it would be a no-brainer. 4 title fights in a year is insane. But like, he only had 1 finish. He never got a second belt, so it wasn't like that was. I mean, I understand that, like, his responsibility is to defend his title in his division, but it wasn't like it was a super standout year in terms of something super new on his resume, like a double champ thing. So, and he also got smoked at the end of the year, which is kind of like, man, kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth if you're trying to think about who was like the best fighter of the year. It's hard to give it to Merab when he got absolutely steamrolled at the end of the year by Petr Yan. But honestly, I really want to say Islam Makhachev. He had 2 title fights. I think if he finished JDM, it would be a little bit more conclusive that he was, fighter of the year. But super strong performance against Renato Moicano, double champ. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like this year there wasn't really a clear standout. I don't know.
Okay, so I gotta disagree. So I kind of have my opinion on Islam. I mean, we've talked about this before about I kind of discredit some of his wins, mainly the short notice opponents. Moicano being the biggest one. Like, we saw the way Beneil Dariush beat Moicano,
right?
And he's good, but he's kind of at the tail end of his career. But he still was able to beat Moicano. Moicano's always been okay to me.
Yeah,
the BSD win is a very phenomenal win, but a 1-day notice, like, if Islam didn't get a first round finish, it would have been like a loss to me. Like,
right.
So he fought twice this year, but I don't know. I was thinking more Carlos Prates. I think when you make your choice, you can look off activity, you can look off finishes, you can look off just like maybe an undefeated record. And I just think Carlos Prates knocking out 2 people who almost had never been knocked out before, and he just carries so much hype to the crowd. I would say Carlos Prates is probably top 5 of the most selling fighters in the UFC right now. I think I would make that claim. So I kind of want to say Carlos Prates, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
I like Carlos Prates. I actually had him on my list too. The fact that he lost to Ian Gary at the beginning of the year was like, but he did. Like, I agree that his stock at the moment is kind of at an all-time high. He showed how you bounce back from a loss and don't let it take away from your stock, I guess. You know what I mean? Some people lose a fight like Bo Nickel, and it's kind of like, ooh, it feels like he got totally deflated as a favorite, or I say an opinion of the in the opinion of the masses. But Prates instantly turned around and became, like, reminded everybody that he is a fan favorite. The fact that he didn't have any title wins, though, makes those wins feel a little bit less significant than someone like Islam, especially who becoming double champ is a pretty big deal. I would say Ilya, if Ilya fought more than once last year, but like, I don't think anybody's really thinking about Ilya Taporia right now. He's kind of off of everyone's radar. So it's hard to, like, look at the end of the year, looking back, it's like, I don't know. I don't feel good about it being Merab. Only 1 finish, kind of a controversial-ish win over Umar Nurmagomedov, like a very close decision. Subbed O'Malley, but O'Malley is like a really favorable matchup for him. Very, very good win against Corey Sandhagen. I think that was his best win of the year, honestly. That was a fight that actually I thought Sandhagen was going to be kind of halfway competitive in, and I was like, dang, he just kind of rolled him. But he lost so badly to Petr Yan, it's like, oof. I mean, 3 title wins in a year is impressive. Then you got Pereira.
Yeah.
Right? Pereira, really lackluster performance against Ankalaev the first time. Really fun, like just kind of a crowd-winning sort of performance in the second fight, but I don't know. I'm not really like Pereira is a little off my radar right now too. I feel like I just don't feel like this year was defined by him. Last year definitely was Pereira's year. That was the year he beat Geary twice and then Roundtree, all finishes. Like that's a no-brainer. But this year it's like,
And Jamal.
Yeah, and Jamal Hill.
That was
wait, he didn't fight Geary
April.
twice
300.
last year. I guess he fought Geary, Jamal, and Roundtree and knocked them all out. Like that's just so good. So I don't know. If I had to pick, I think I would have to pick Islam just because like if I'm picking Protes, okay, that's 2 wins we're going off of, but Islam won twice and they were both title fights and double champ was one of them. So it's like, how can you pick Protes over Islam? You know what I mean? To me, I feel like it has to be between Islam or Merab. And I just have to pick Islam because double champ and he didn't lose. And he got a finish in it too against Moicano. So I don't know. That'd be my pick. But I feel like this year is one of those years where there isn't really a standout like fighter of the year like there was last year. Last year was very, very obviously Pereira. If Pantoja, if he subbed Joshua Van, there's a case you made that Pantoja could have done it. I don't know. But
for sure,
unfortunate. Okay,
and
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was gonna say something I do want to talk about is what warrants a title shot, and it's kind of connected to this because we're talking about what deserves fighter of the year. Is it impressiveness, like being impressive and domination or whatever, or is it like activity or whatever? And I think that can kind of go hand in hand with what warrants a title shot, where it's activity, finishes, record, and that's where we could talk about the welterweight division. But that can be later. But what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, I'm kind of more thinking about like our 2025 in review. So I had a couple things here. I was gonna say, what is the best, or what was the best title fight in 2025 in terms of performance? I think you can take this in a couple different directions. You can either say, well, obviously Ilya Taporia knocking out Charles, like pretty spectacular performance. Pereira beating Ankalaev in the rematch, pretty spectacular. Or Moicano against Islam. But you also have to think, I think you have to factor in my head anyways, like which ones of those are the most memorable. Part of what makes a certain fight or a certain performance stick out in my memory is when it kind of blows away our expectations a little bit. Like, I don't know about you, but I was not expecting Charles to have much of a chance against Ilya. I think he was like a plus 500 underdog or something crazy like that. And the reason why is because he's a good matchup for Ilya, right? He kind of gets hit a lot. He doesn't have the most spectacular chin. And so it's like, and Ilya is a heavy hitter. So everyone kind of thought he was going to lose. Like that fight played out exactly as everybody thought it was going to. And then you have a fight like Merab versus O'Malley, right? Very good performance. But like O'Malley is like the perfect matchup for Merab, which is why, I don't know, a little bit of bias here, a little bit of recency bias, but Jan versus Merab sticks out to me as, wow, that was a truly spectacular performance. Like he was literally a plus 400 underdog and he beat him like, I thought that should have been 50-45, if not 50-44 or something like that, So, yeah. And then Ankalaev versus Pereira, the rematch. That one I think was one that kind of blew everybody away. It was almost so short though that you have to wonder, gosh, was it like a little bit of a, like if they fought a third fight, would it look like that? I doubt it, right? I think Ankalaev probably went in there and was not expecting Pereira to be so aggressive. And Pereira just kind of almost won just by kind of taking advantage of Ankalaev's lack of preparation and throwing a completely different version of himself at him. You know what I mean? Whereas like Merab, for example, fought against Petr Yan the same way he fought against everybody. Merab Jan just kind of beat him at his own game. There was no gimmicks. Yeah. So I don't know. For me, Jan versus Merab sticks out as like wow, the plus 400 underdog 50-45'd his opponent. I don't think there was any other fight quite like that one this year that really blew everybody away.
Yeah, honestly, might be a hot take, but Magomed Ankalaev like does not interest me like at all. Like I don't know why. The second fight, I just kind of saw it happen and like I wasn't even like on my feet. I was like it was a first round finish, but I was just like okay. I don't know why. I can't really get excited about that trilogy. I'd much rather see Pereira go up to heavyweight. That's what actually would like excite me about Pereira's the next move in his career is 100%, you know, fighting maybe the loser of Aspinall Cirogan or something like that to warrant a heavyweight title shot. As far as what you're saying about like the best title fight of 2025, I think I would have to say Ilya Charles.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's you can look at dominance in two ways. Like, oh, an Islam JDM of like, I fought 5 rounds and I dominated 5 rounds, or I finished you in 1 round.
Right.
You know, there's two different ways to look at that, and I think the anticipation of the Charles Ilya fight was by far greater than any other fight in 2025. It was months of promos, and I would even say like it's kind of cringy, but like TikTok edits, like they were blowing up for months, and it was just spectacular. I think Ilya only got clipped once with that lead elbow that Charles hit him with. That was kind of a weird crash, but Ilya was kind of mauling Charles on the ground too. Like there was that slight leg entanglement, but Ilya was in control the entire time, and he just dominated Charles in every aspect of that. And so I think I have to just say the first round finish of Charles for 2025.
Yeah, I don't want to take it away from when I say that, you know, that fight doesn't stick out to me as much because what we expected is what happened. I don't want that to take away from Ilya's performance at all because obviously he dominated him, and you know, Charles is very very good. But
yeah.
So what were some standout performances, do you think, in 2025? Doesn't have to be a title fight necessarily, but what were some fights where you were just really blown away, really surprised, or just fights that stick out to you as, wow, that really is, you know, a kind of a career-defining performance for this individual? I can tell you some of mine. I thought Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler, like that was the beginning of the year, and it really still sticks out to me as, wow. Like I was not expecting Paddy to look so composed and so technical in that fight. You know, I always saw him as a grappler, and I always thought his striking was kind of sort of his main, I want to say like it was the angle that maybe some of his opponents could have on him to sort of win that in that matchup. But he looked super, super technical and composed in this fight with Chandler. And I think this was the first time that I really took Paddy seriously as a real title challenger. And I know Michael Chandler isn't the most high quality opponent. Like everyone kind of beats Michael Chandler, but at least Michael Chandler gives everybody a little bit of a run for their money, right? Even against great fighters, against Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, like all these guys who are kind of in the same generation. Every one of those fights, Chandler had all of them at one point kind of on the ropes and a little bit, you know, oh, I'm in some hot water here. I can't think of a single moment when he fought Paddy where Paddy wasn't completely mauling him from start to finish. The finishing sequence was so stinking good. Perfect takedown entry. He picked him up. That mat return, he looked like he was picking up a child. Like it was so perfect. Obviously, I have Jan versus Merab. That was another one that I think was Peter Jan's best win, and he has a lot of good wins in his career. I have Diego Lopez versus John Silva. I kind of thought John Silva was going to win that fight, and Diego Lopez mauled him. I thought after Diego Lopez lost to Volkanovski that it was going to be a little bit of a a rough journey back to a title shot, but I stand corrected. And then JDM versus Bilal. That one, I think a lot of people probably thought that Bilal was going to win that fight, or at the very least, they thought it was going to be competitive, but it wasn't.
100%.
And then I have Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. I thought that fight was going to be somewhat competitive, and it wasn't competitive in the slightest. I don't know if it's Zhang Weili is kind of starting to go downhill, but I don't think so, honestly. I think she's still very good. I just think that she couldn't deal with she couldn't close distance on Shevchenko at all. Every time she tried, she was taking a knee to the body. She just struggled with the range in that fight. And of course, Valentina is a little bit bigger, a little bit longer than her. So I don't know. Those are some of the ones that stood out to me. But if I had to pick a performance that really made me rethink a certain fighter, a certain division, it would have to be Patty versus Chandler or Jan versus Merab. Like the Jan that we saw that beat Merab, I don't know if anybody in the current bantamweight division at their skill level is going to beat that guy. And Patty, this fight was the one that made me say, wow, he went from a a decently skilled fighter with a lot of fans, kind of in the mid range of the rankings, to okay, this guy maybe is going to be a champion if Ilya moves on from lightweight.
Yeah. So what I kind of understood from that question you said is like, who were like people that were like underdogs in fights that kind of had a dominant victory?
Not necessarily. Just like, what's a standout performance to you? Like, yeah, Ilya knocking out Charles was a standout performance, but did that change your opinion about Ilya Taporia? Not really, because that was a matchup that he was really favored to win. Whatever that means to you, I don't know. That's what it means to me, because the ones that stick out in my mind are the ones that are fights that either kind of redefine the fighter, or ones that kind of change the way that you viewed them, change the way that you thought the division is going to go. Like in Jan's case, like I don't think anyone's going to beat Petr Yan. So it's like, wow, that was a single fight that made me say this is going to be what bantamweight's going to look like for the next couple of years, probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have two in my mind, just as you said that. One would be definitely RDR versus Brendan Allen. It was short notice, but I mean, I was like, RDR's bigger. His cardio was decent against Robert Whittaker, but I thought it was still going to be a blowout for RDR. I was kind of a sheep thinking about that fight, and then to watch Brendan Allen control every grappling exchange and just kind of drown RDR. I would say that one is definitely making the list for me. Another one is Usman versus Buckley.
I forgot about that one.
I was kind of I was like, Usman is old. His knees are not gonna allow him to wrestle like he used to. And he's been knocked out, by Leon within the last few years. And so I was like, and Buckley, I think he was coming off the win of Wonder Boy, just kind of flatlining him a little. Not like it wasn't that bad, but he was out. You know what I mean? He went down. I thought Buckley was probably going to get a TKO in the third or fourth round, and Usman just mauled him. He just took him down every round and controlled him for probably 3 minutes. And I was surprised by that. Also, I think I would throw on Michael Morales versus Sean Brady. It's kind of a weird pick, but Sean Brady I think he was like a minus 160 maybe. And it was like, I was expecting Sean Brady to do what he did to Leon to Michael Morales, right? Similar frames, and I was like, okay, same story. Sean Brady was on a streak, I'm pretty sure. And Michael Morales just like TKO'd him in a minute and 15 seconds. I don't think Sean Brady landed like a single strike in that fight. And that definitely opened my eyes to Michael Morales being like, dude, like, he just like mauled this guy who's supposed to have a takedown advantage, and the champ is somebody with, maybe is an inch taller than Sean Brady, but like similar builds to an extent. And I was like, that definitely opened my eyes to like the skill of Michael Morales, especially against a matchup like Islam. I would say welterweight is 1000% my most. Very intrigued about that division right now. It's definitely what excites me the most. But I'd say those matchups this year were pretty big for me.
Whose stock do you think went up in 2025? I'm more talking about like, it's hard to put a finger on exactly what this means. I think to some extent it's how many fans do they have. I think it's also how much press are they getting. Just kind of like how much is this fighter on your radar, I guess, going into 2026, especially when you think about where they were at the beginning of 2025. The main ones I have in my mind are Carlos Prates. I think at the beginning of the year, people felt that he was promising. He got tested against Ian Gary. But I think 2 spectacular knockouts in a row against very good opponents. I think everybody is thinking about Carlos Prates right now, especially he's at 170 and 170 is so big. I also have Merab. Even though Merab lost at the end of the year, I think when you think about who Merab was in January of this year to now, I think he kind of catapulted him to the front of the stage, if you will. Just 3 wins in a row, a lot of activity. For better or worse, he also engages a lot on social media, but that certainly cuts in his favor. Last, I have Joshua Van. Joshua Van, I think at the beginning of the year was somebody that everybody was on a lot of people's radars. Like, wow, this Joshua Van guy's real good. And then who did he fight this year? He fought Brandon Royval, and obviously he just fought Pantoja. Who did he fight at the beginning of the year? Bruno Silva?
316. Yeah, Bruno Silva.
Okay, yeah, so he knocked out Bruno Silva, had a banger of a fight against Brandon Royval. I mean, think about it. Mm-hmm. I would think in January, wasn't he unranked? Pretty sure he was. I think he fought into the rankings against Bruno Silva, and then he skipped the line and became number 1 contender when he beat Royval, and then now he's champion. I mean, it was very much a fluke, but can't take that away from him. He went from basically unranked to champion, and I think a lot of people like him, even though I don't necessarily fault him for how that fight played out. I don't know why a lot of people are. It's kind of silly that people are hating on him. Like, it's different than Aljo and Petr Yan, right? Literally, what was he supposed to do in that scenario? I mean, I guess he celebrated, but I'm sure that was just sort of a moment of like, wow, I'm actually champion after all this hard work, even though it wasn't. People forget that he wasn't celebrating the 2 minutes of fight that he had against Pantoja. He was celebrating probably years and years and years of work to get to that point, and now he can actually call himself a UFC champion. Fluke or not, okay? He knocked him over, and I hate to say it, but Pantoja kind of made a mistake. So, like, it is what it is. I think he'll probably fight Tatsuro Taira at the beginning of the year, probably sometime in the spring, and Pantoja will probably get that fight, get that rematch, and I think he'll probably win. But that's for a topic down the line here. So whose stock went up in 2025?
Wait, I just take a little side note. Do you think Tatsuro Taira will get the title shot over Manel Kape?
Probably.
Why?
Well, I mean, which one?
I mean, they both got TKO victories, but
who did Manel Kape just beat?
Brandon Royval in 1 round, and then Tatsuro Taira just TKO'd Brandon Royval or Brandon Moreno in the 2nd round.
Oh yeah, I guess Pantoja might, or Manel Kape might get it. I think Van probably has a better shot at beating Manel Kape than he does Tatsuro Taira. Just because Tatsuro Taira is kind of like, dude, Tatsuro Taira he's like he low-key fights like Islam. He's like an Islam at flyweight. And I just think that kind of style probably doesn't jive as well with Joshua Van as somebody who's going to basically stand up, keep it a stand-up fight.
It's possible.
Tuts Retire is going to die for his legs and try and hunt his back. It's just what he does.
Dude.
He did it to Moreno. I consider Moreno to be a pretty good grappler.
True. I would love to see Pantoja fight Tyra. That would be a sick fight.
That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. They're both really aggressive, both high finish rates. That'd be very good.
I'm just getting tired of like striker versus grappler matchups. It's like, dude, I want to get two grapplers who also have hands, but their like specialty is grappling, and they can have insane scrambles. Kind of like Islam versus Armin like 10 years ago. I don't know if you watched that fight back, but it's like, it's just scramble after scramble after scramble. It's like, dude, that's what gets me at the edge of my seat when it comes to like grappling matchups. Who's stock Rose? It's difficult, man, because like obviously my mind drifts to like people who already had high stock coming into the year and then rose it even higher. You know what I mean? Like Yuri or Ilya, like people had impressive finishes. Could say like Walter Walker, like getting, I don't know how many fights he had this year, three or four.
He fights pretty often,
but they were all, yeah, people who were really active. Or like looking at kind of like a list of people that I was gonna make a top 5 about prospects going in the next year. And it's like Ateba Gatier. You know what I mean? I do think, you know, he's fighting Uber drivers, but I mean, he's had like 4 round 1 finishes in a row. Kind of more niche, but that guy with vitiligo, Melikazel Costa, coming off the head kick KO. Kyle Dawkins. But like more bigger names, I don't know why. Okay, I can tell you who stock went down.
That'd be my next question. So stay with this. I mean, I think you gave me a good list here. I actually agree with you on Walter Walker. I think probably almost nobody knew who he was at the beginning of the year, and now he kind of is known as like the heel hook guy. I mean,
Yeah.
4 round 1 subs in a row. That's got to be a record. Like that's pretty
It's nutty.
impressive, especially because at this point everyone kind of knows what his little gimmick is, and so it's like,
Dude, yeah, right. And I'm just like thinking about it. It's like you'd think that when somebody gets matched up with him, it's like, dude, we know what he's gonna do. Like he's gonna like get a lazy takedown and then just pull Ashigarami and like just start ripping it. It's like, let's just take 2 months and just drill heel hook defense from Ashi. Like
it's 50-50 or Ashigarami. It's always those two.
It
Remy
just shows
Ashigarami.
you how bad like heavyweight is. Like the grappling is it's just
it's pretty atrocious. That's how DC became champ at heavyweight. I mean, think about it. There's not really any reason why he should have been heavyweight champion. He's way undersized for the division, but nobody at heavyweight can defend takedowns. So,
and it makes me think. You know Kennedy in Cheku. She actually kind of super random, but people forget that he actually TKO'd Carl Solberg like a long time ago. But it's like, I don't know why more 205ers just decide to go up to heavyweight. Like, just don't cut weight. You know, most light heavyweight fighters are like the same height as heavyweights. They're just like lean. But it's like, you could probably, if you carry some athleticism to heavyweight, go on a run, honestly. The skill gap is so bad at heavyweight that most people at light heavyweight could probably be top 10 at heavyweight. It's kind of a hot take, maybe.
I would say that's
know.
especially
What do you think about
true. That's especially true because a lot of heavyweights are strikers. And I think having size advantage really, really plays a bigger factor when you're grappling. And so, if you're an Alex Pereira, if he lands a clean shot, it's going to knock out a heavyweight and it's going to knock out a light heavyweight. It's going to have the same effect on both. I mean,
100%.
it's not like when you get bigger, all of a sudden you can take heavier hits or something like that. So I think Alex Pereira has a real good shot at heavyweight if he decides to go up, even though he's going to be undersized. I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, unless he fights someone like a Curtis Blades. Yeah, if he fights Curtis Blades, he'd probably lose that fight.
For sure.
So
It's the Jalton Almeida effect.
yeah,
I think we're gonna enter a new age of heavyweight of like 230 to 240 pound heavyweights of people that are athletic and they have really good grappling. Unless the UFC decides to make like a 225, a 235 division to meet in the middle, we're going to start seeing 240 heavyweights.
I think so. I mean, it's already kind of happening right now. Cyril Gahn's about 240. John Jones is around that weight. Yeah. Whose stock went down in 2025? I have a few on my list. I think these are all people who were on everybody's radar at the beginning of the year, and now they're really on nobody's radar. This list to me is a little bit longer than the other one is. I feel like this year there was a lot more people who kind of fell off than there were people who really kind of rose up.
100%.
I would say Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley was the guy below 155 pounds that everybody thought about. After he lost to Merab, I think that's what sort of started the process. But then he rematched him and had an even worse performance. He took a little bit of a hiatus. Like, I just don't think anybody in 2025 was thinking about Sean O'Malley at all. I also have Ilia Topuria, just because of the inactivity. Like, he fought in June, but he didn't fight at all before then. I mean, he fought Alexander Volkanovski almost 2 years ago. And he's only fought twice since then. It's like, dude, if you want to keep your fans around, you got to keep fighting. I also have DDP. I think after DDP lost to Khamzat, we have seen him fight everybody else at middleweight. We kind of know how those fights are going to look. But now there's like one guy who I don't think anybody thinks he's ever going to beat. I mean, I think if Khamzat fought DDP 10 times, he'd win 10 times. It's just a bad matchup for him. So I think at this point, it's almost like he has nothing to prove anymore. He's proven that he can beat everybody else at middleweight, but he just can't beat the champion. So it's almost like those wins don't do any good for him anymore. So I just feel like right now, people have kind of ruled DDP out as like, yeah, you could give this guy 5 years of training and he's still not going to beat Khamzat. So why are we even considering him as a potential title contender?
Yeah.
You know, that's why I think he kind of flew off of everyone's radar. Like, I mean, seriously, he fought Khamzat back in August, and I haven't even heard his name mentioned since then.
True.
I also have Raul Rosas Jr. I remember when everyone was talking about him like he was kind of the next big thing. And where is this guy? Like, I feel like he just totally is off the radar. No one's thinking about him. I don't think he did anything bad this year that would make people not like him anymore, but he just is kind of he's kind of irrelevant right now. Same with Shavkat. Same thing. Like, I guarantee you, if you bring up Shavkat, I mean, I even have this. I sometimes I'm thinking about, who's gonna fight for the belt next, and I literally forget that he exists, and he's like the number one contender. I don't know if did he have an injury after he fought Ian Gary or something like that, and he had a long recovery or something, and then who knows what happened. Michael Chandler, again, used to be kind of like this guy that everyone thought was like, okay, yeah, maybe he's not going to beat his opponent, but at the very least, he's going to like put up a good fight and make it competitive. And then I think the Charles rematch was when people really started to see, okay, he's not even competitive anymore. And then the Paddy fight was just, a progression of that to where now he doesn't even have the appeal that, okay, he's going to make this fight super chaotic and crazy. And yeah, he's going to go against someone who's a lot better than him, a Dustin Poirier. But now I just think no one even considers him a real contender. Like, I mean, even in an entertainment sense, it's like he's just not really this guy, this kind of monster he once was. And then, of course, I have Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland should never have gotten popular. He is just not. He's a good fighter, but he is not an entertaining fighter in the slightest. He does not go for finishes, whether that be a knockout or submission. And so, the social media antics only take you so far when it comes to how much your fans care about you. And I think toward the end, people started to really kind of started to turn on him a little bit. Same with Merab too. Like, it was really cool when Merab won the first time, and it's kind of like, okay, it's getting a little old seeing 30 minutes of just kind of like running around and it's not really fighting, Same thing with Sean Strickland. Merab's a wrestler, Strickland's a striker, but they have the same problem. right? It has nothing
Yeah.
to do with striking or grappling. It has to do with your aggression and your desire to get a finish, right?
Yeah.
And I think Sean Strickland, after he lost and then got suspended, it's kind of like DDP. I haven't heard anybody talk about Sean Strickland once in the last like 8 months. So, yeah, that's my list.
He was also suspended too.
Yeah, I know. I said that.
Remember?
But still, I don't think anybody is, and nobody sees him like. In a way, Ilya Taporia is kind of suspended, because he's having these like troubles in his personal life that's stopping him from fighting. But he's a lot more on people's radar than Strickland is, because Ilya is just he's a finisher, right? So I think the problem with Sean Strickland is not necessarily that he's suspended. I think that just kind of reveals the issues that the fans already have with him, which is that he's just not an exciting fighter. He's very good. Don't mistake that. Obviously, he was a champion. But, I mean, if Sean Strickland has a fight booked, I'm very just, okay, give or take. I could watch it or I could not, and I wouldn't be sad.
Yeah, that's fair. Those are all fair takes. I actually have 3 people that I don't think you mentioned.
Okay.
One, Leon Edwards.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good one.
He was a champ. He had defenses. I think people always forget that he actually he beat Usman by knockout, and then he also beat him by decision. Like he just beat him, at his game. And then just went from like never being finished to like getting beat by decision, getting beat by sub, and then getting knocked out.
Right.
It's sad to see, and then my next one is Jamal Hill. I don't think I've ever met a Jamal fan. Have you met somebody who's actually like, I just love Jamal Hill as my favorite fighter? Like I'm actually asking you.
No.
Do you?
I remember. Okay,
No.
I think at this point it's almost like it's kind of a game to kind of hate on him. Like people just kind of see it as the sort of the thing to do. It's like, oh, when I see him, I boo. When I see him post, I hate. Like it's just kind of like a sort of it's almost like a game people are playing with him at this point.
Yeah.
I remember when we were in Chicago, dude. They had one of those like fighter Q&A things before was it the weigh-in or something like that? And every time he had the mic, people were just booing him out of the freaking room. Like it's almost getting a little bit like, okay, we get it. It's not really that funny anymore. I don't know. It's just kind of silly, but I agree. I think as a fighter, he's very matchup dependent. If you fight somebody who is going to really get in his face and not try and be technical, it doesn't really work out for him so well. He doesn't do well against super aggressive fighters.
For sure. I'm honestly confused about his career because I don't know if you remember when light heavyweight kind of had its thing where Yuri beat Glover, became champ, and then like messed up his shoulder. Remember? It was like doctor said it was the worst shoulder injury they've ever seen. And then Glover fought Jamal, and Jamal slaughtered him, right? Beat him up. And then Jamal got a really bad injury, and then that's when Pereira fought Pereira fought Blachowicz, and then fought Yuri in his return. But you notice how Yuri and Jamal had bad injuries, and then Yuri managed to come back. They both beat Glover, and then Jamal had his injury. And has he ever looked the same since when he fought Glover?
I don't think so.
Like
he had a horrible performance against Roundtree. A really, I would say, a more respectable performance against Yuri. The Roundtree fight was just really not good.
He just didn't throw.
Yeah,
it's like, dude,
no excuse for that loss.
And then I think what also kind of puts a bad taste is I feel like Jamal is kind of a sore loser a little bit. Like I think he kind of like when Roundtree won, he kind of was like surprised and like, what? It's like, dude, you threw like 7 strikes.
Yeah.
And Roundtree was like throwing oblique kicks and you were like kind of like slipping over the place because your knee was hurting. It's like, how in any world did you expect to win that fight? I'm not a Jamal hater, but I'm just observing his career, observing his style, and he's just not that fun to watch. I'm gonna be honest. But that's what I have for Jamal, and then my last one is Tom Aspinall. And my case, Tom, he became the interim champ, and while waiting for John Jones, he was kind of just aura farming for like a year and a half. Honestly, he was on Twitter constantly. You know, the fight cam comes, he's got the duck in his hand, and he's just like he's doing all the antics, and he's just trying to get a fight with John Jones. And then he finally got his fight, right? And we all know what happened. Shogun poked him in the eyes, and on Twitter, he's been just like
insufferable,
ranting and ranting. And I can talk about a photo that I pulled up. Shogun tweeted and said, "Still no date or opponent yet, but we keep grinding and training hard before the holidays with my man Bam Bam Tuivasa." And then you know what Tom Aspinall said? He said, "No crap, there's not a date yet. I'm not medically cleared to fight and about to have surgery thanks to your disgusting fingernails. I'll be back to smash your face and soon you cheat." And it's just like, dude, we all know it wasn't intentional, right? And he's just like saying all this crap. It just puts a bad taste in my mouth, and it's like, dude, you'll get the rematch. You're still the champ. Why? It's part of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have anything you want to say about this whole situation?
So I think the problem is a little bit bigger. I think like people in general, right? They love stories. They love narratives. They love to have somebody to root for, right? I mean, this is a sport that is, it's not like a movie or it's not like a skit like WWE, right? These are real people competing against each other. But people still like there to be a little bit of a story. They like there to be an underdog. They like a hero. They like a villain. And so what they do is they have their guy who they turn into sort of the protagonist, the main character of the story. And, they're not going to be the protagonist if they're not invincible, right? They got to be able to, no matter what happens, they're going to end up alive in the end. They're going to win. They're going to have the victory. But the problem is that's not how people work, right? People have flaws. They have limitations. When the right moment happens, maybe they're faced with a challenge that's too much for them. And on one side of things, you have the people who have sort of propped up this main character, right? And they're rooting for the guy. They want him to win at all costs. And that was Tom Aspinall for a lot of people, right? He had every reason to be the hero, right? Oh, he was really good. He, a lot of round one finishes. Oh, there's this John Jones guy. There's the villain. Oh, Tom Aspinall, like, very clearly gets the better exchange, even though they never fought. Like, he's kind of still seen as sort of the hero in that whole situation. And so, what happens when the hero loses? And of course, he didn't lose that fight necessarily. It was a no contest. No. But in a sense, he kind of did. Because even the most staunch Aspinall fans would say, yeah, that first round he fought against Shogun, it wasn't supposed to look like that. Right? You watch the rest of Tom Aspinall's fights, none of them have looked like that, ever. He never looked like he did at the end of that round. And a lot of people are saying, well, it was only one round. How can you tell? Okay, all of Tom Aspinall's fights are over in one round. Okay, so it's kind of silly to say, well, we never know, who knows what it would have looked like in 25 minutes. Well, yes, of course, we can't predict the freaking future, but from what we saw, it did look, it was a different looking fight. He was not the hunter in that fight. He was not the predator. He was the prey in that fight. And I think that shattered this sort of image of him as the invincible hero. Everyone wants to have a Superman. Merab was the Superman for a while. And people prop them up so much, they turn it into this fantasy. It's almost like they're above criticism. Oh, you don't like Marab? Go watch boxing. It's like, what? Oh, you think that, Tom Aspinall was losing that fight? There's something wrong with you. Who knows what it would look like after round 1? It's like, can we just take a step back here and just like look at this for what it is? He was losing that fight. And a lot of the fans who had sort of turned him into their superhero, they got the poster of him on their wall. It hurt them a little bit to see what happened to him in that round. So I agree with you. I agree with you that did Tom Aspinall lose some stock? Yes. Not because of the eye poke. I think Aspinall being a little bit like, he loses a little bit of that aura when he's not super stoic about it. If he got poked in the eye and said, unfortunate, but I'm going to come back and stomp you. But when he kind of has this like victim mentality with it, where it's like, ooh, you're hurting me. Like, I had to go to the doctor. What's wrong with you? It's like, dude, you're just kind of being whiny. Like, yeah, you can still trash talk and still like, make a little jab on him on Twitter about the eye poke and have some swagger a little bit, take a page out of McGregor's playbook there. But he's just kind of coming across as kind of whiny, and he was losing that round. Like, I think that whole situation with Ciryl Gane, there's a little crack. There's a little crack in the invincible sort of like aura that Tom Aspinall had. So,
for sure. And like, look at this from Ciryl Gane's perspective. Like, he was interim champ, and then he lost to John Jones, and John Jones was just staying at the top for years without fighting. Like, Ciryl Gane probably worked so hard to get back to this. And to have that moment kind of like stripped, that opportunity just like taken right in the octagon. Like, do you think Ciryl Gane was like, okay, how can I like finger poke or whatever, eye poke him so I can like get an advantage in the later rounds? Like, dude, like, and now Ciryl Gane might not get an immediate rematch. I mean, we don't know, but it's like, you cannot look at that and say it was intentional.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
100%. You can be considered like, is Tom Aspinall right in calling, like correct in calling Ciryl Gane a cheater? Absolutely. It's a foul to poke somebody in the eyes. Don't mistake that. But you can still be a cheater and have it be intentional malice, right? And have it just be carelessness. I think Ciryl Gane was being careless. Yeah. I don't think he was intentionally poking him in the eyes. I mean, eye pokes happen all the time, right? Petr Yan pokes people a lot in the eyes because he plays a long guard and a lot of times has his hands out. He does a good job of having his, a close fist. He does that a lot of the time, but sometimes he has his fingers out, right? When you watch his fights, he does it quite a bit, or he'll kind of have like sort of a halfway open hand. Like, yeah, it's kind of just part of the game. Like, fouls happen, right? There are rules. They exist for a reason to stop the play, when things happen. And if the foul is so much so that it causes injury, the game ends, right? It happens in every sport. I don't think Ciryl Gane was, I certainly think it's a stretch to say that Ciryl Gane was being intentional. It was probably carelessness. It was irresponsible. And it was entirely his fault that he lost out on that title shot. But he was winning that fight. He had no reason to be like, ooh, I want to end this fight and, I need a way out. I'm going to poke him in the eye. You are a delusional Aspinall fan if you are saying that. Like, delusional. He was winning that fight. He has never been undisputed champ. I can tell you for a fact, he did not want to somehow be out of that fight or something like that. There's no way. He looked so comfortable in there. Just like, look at his body language throughout the round. He looked incredibly comfortable in there with Aspinall.
Honestly, I've always questioned why the UFC has never changed the gloves.
They did.
The gloves have been the same.
No, remember? They did. When they switched to the golden gloves. It only lasted like 6 months though, because the fighters kind of hated them. And I think they stopped using them because the finish rate kind of plummeted when they switched over those gloves. It was like the first like 7 months or so of 2024. It's like basically up until the Jones fight. And then Jones said, I don't like these. And he's the company man. So
Yeah, dude. Because I watched a Mighty Mouse clip a while back, and he was talking about how like the Pride gloves were the best gloves of all time that he's ever used, and I was like, wait a minute, Pride like isn't an organization anymore. Like, why don't the UFC just like design like they just oh we tried new gloves and they didn't work, dude. Go back to the drawing board and make different ones. Like, there's other ways to solve this problem other than just like just just don't poke people in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, there could be more of the fighters shouldn't be doing that, but it's like I don't know why the gloves have always. Anyways, dude, it's funny. It's funny how you were talking about the hero analogy for fighters, and in my mind, I was just replaying the clip of Green Goblin and Spider Man. It's like the people want to see a hero fail, fall, die trying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a mirror of that clip.
That's the other end of the spectrum, right? And that's why people hate MMA fans so much. It's because they're so tribal, and they kind of act like, ooh, when the fighter I like wins, that's a win for me and a loss for you. Dude, you're not in there. What do you mean you won? We're all watching the same game, right? Like we all win when we watch because it's fun. That's the end of it. Mm-hmm. But whenever people prop up a hero, right, you also have an army of people that want to see him fail. It was the same with O'Malley. It was the same with Merab. Like, you see tons of insufferable fans saying so many bad things about Merab after he lost to Petr Yan. Why is it so hard to just be like, wow, what a spectacular performance that was by Petr Yan, and wow, Merab is a spectacular fighter who had an amazing year. Like, you can believe both of those things and just enjoy the sport for what it is. I mean, I think it's fine to have fans or to be a fan of certain people. I've got fighters that I like more than others, but I'm not going to act like I'm in there winning the fight when they win. I mean,
yeah, of course. Like, I think it's natural to take sides, like, but it doesn't give people rights to like be toxic. Like, it's just not pleasant. Like, a perfect example. So like like some videos that I've made and I've talked about how I think Max Holloway is going to beat Charles, and people go insane. They're like, dude, there's a huge mismatch with jiu-jitsu. Charles will sub him in 2. Like, Charles, is going to be champ. And they're like, it's like, no, dude.
That's an easy fight for Max.
I probably like Charles more than you do, but I'm just not a sheep. I'm not like, dude, you're just like eating propaganda. Charles is the greatest of all time. Like, dude, get your head out of the gutter, man. Like,
people are so delusional when they become such big fans of a certain fighter that they're almost like in denial about the fact that they're just humans and they're not perfect, right? There are going to be some bad matchups. Max Holloway is a horrible matchup for Charles. Like, I mean, yeah, that's a topic for a future future podcast episode when we get closer to that fight. Well, that's it. 2025 was a good year. 2026, promising. New Paramount deal. I think should get a lot of fresh fans. Yeah, I think that'll do it. I think we can end it here.